going to go ahead and take the, and by the way, I pre-loosened that. I'm going to go ahead and take the fuel filter off of here because I want to go and put some carburetor choke cleaner through it. And when you're doing something like this and you're trying to clean out an existing filter, what you want to do is you want to blow this way into the filter instead of coming in from this direction. Your fuel's coming in from here, so if there's any contamination, it's going to be coming from this way. If you take some carburetor choke cleaner and blow from this side out this way, you're going to clean all that out or most of that out, and then you'll want to check it after it's dried off. You want to check it with an air hose to make sure that you got good flow through. Don't lose that little ring. That is what keeps the fuel inside the carburetor and the fuel line. Now we remove the carburetor. The 4300 is actually, this one is actually a fairly rare carburetor. It shares commonality with the Boss 351. This is the same carburetor in an Autolite form that you would see on the R Code 72 and the Boss 351 in 71. It is specific to 4-barrel 4-speed cars. So that's kind of a neat thing. We actually have the original carburetor tag for this one. We had this built by John Einert years ago. It was actually one of the first things I did that kind of got me involved as becoming the editor for Mustang Monthly magazine. John and I formed a relationship, me doing his advertising work, and from there it kind of just blossomed and grew. He said that they were looking for someone to do art direction at Mustang Monthly. I put my hat in the ring for that and ended up getting the editor's chair. Funny things that happen in life. So from 1996 to about 2000, I believe, maybe 99, I don't remember the exact dates right now. I was the editor for Mustang Monthly, and then I moved over to Mustang and Ford magazine until 2004, when, let's just say, the company and I parted ways. And at that point, I went to work for a company called RRS out of Australia. You'll know that my wife, possibly know that my wife sells the suspension stuff from them now. And I'm her tech guy because I understand the stuff, weirdly. Even though everything's upside down because it's from Australia. Just kidding, that's not really true. All right, I'm gonna make sure we got all of our vacuum lines unhooked. We got ported vacuum down here on the bottom of the carburetor. And we have another vacuum port that goes to the choke assembly on the back side of the carburetor. So those two need to come off, and then the carburetor won't come off because we have the choke still hooked up. Forgot about that. And honestly, this choke horn is a little messed up. There we go. There's still, I forgot about the PVC. Carburetor is out. I do want to talk about something here that I've seen. All right, looking at this, you'll see the back of this. There's old fuel here. Very old fuel on the back side of these bowls on this piece. These, you don't get these anymore. You get a thicker carburetor gasket with these rather than the metallic ones like this. I'm hoping that we can possibly reuse this one, but I'm a little worried because of how much pressure this thing has already seen. We'll talk to Cam about that when he gets here. All right, so I got this thing off the car, and I'm going to go over a couple of things that are what I would consider needful things for what we've got going on right here. And then I'm going to do another video that's a little more expansive on the 4300D. That's going to be a sidebar video. That way, you know, if nobody watches it, you know, nobody watches it. So anyway, here we go. These are, in fact, your bowl vents. After last week's video where we talked about not being sure if that's the bowl vents, these are, in fact, the bowl vents on a 4300D. So these go straight down into the bowl of the carburetor. You do not want to leave your carburetor exposed, not because of, well, some because of what's going on down here, but bugs and things can crawl down inside these holes, get inside the bowl itself, and cause you some issues there. The fuel that's in here, you can look at the tray and see that the fuel that's in here is pretty trashed. This is the stuff that came out of the carburetor when I did a little bit of throttle blade push on it. Now I am finally getting fuel coming through the squirters, and I'll show you if they'll do it, because it's kind of running out of gas. I'll probably have to put some gas in it, but it is pushing fuel now. Just barely getting some in there. You can see it now. There's not much fuel, I think, in the bottom of the bowl, but the squirters are now in fact working. So this now would probably run. I don't know how well, because the float may be stuck. There's all kind of crazy things that can be causing a problem inside of here that I don't want to put that thing back on the car. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, pull my O-ring off, and I'm going to take this outside and spray some carburetor choke cleaner through it this way and get this cleaned up. And then we're going to come back. I'm going to come back and take this apart off camera. Go look at the video that we did on rebuilding a 4300, and you can see how that turned out. It actually ran. This is that carburetor. All right, I have pulled this thing completely apart. It is pretty trashy inside the bores here. I will say this, because this is something I'm really bad about, and some of you guys may be bad about as well. I tend to be willing to run the car with the air cleaner off. That's a bad idea. What you're seeing down inside the bores, you probably can't see it, but there's trash all down inside these bores. It's always a problem, because you can get stuff down inside the engine. It's just going to be dirt or particulate or whatever. Always put a good filter on the car. We may even go to something like a K&N filter, not because it cleans the air up and all that, but because it's an oil bath filter, it's a little more likely to catch and grab any dirt coming into the engine. This thing's already ingested a good bit of dirt. So we need to kind of mitigate that problem by, keeping an air cleaner on here and just doing the right thing by this. This is bad. I mean, I'm going to show you something here. I hope you can see this. There's stuff in the bottom of this. There's also a piece of particulate right here. Maybe a little hard to see. I'll try to get the flashlight around so you can see it. Now right there, you can see this little piece of particulate. That's from something of possibly me building this thing. You can see how nasty that gasoline is, but worse than just a standard nasty in the gasoline, there is this stuff on the bottom. And I've encountered this a number of times in working with cars and boats and things like that that run ethanol-based fuels. You can see that trash coming up off the bottom. That's just not good. That's going to be a problem in the engine. It's going to be a problem for the car running correctly. You remember when we pulled the fuel cylinder out and it was caked in that weird-looking clear stuff? This is part of that problem. This is a thinner version of it, but I have seen that stuff inside of a carburetor that's thick, almost looks like, for lack of a better word, mucus, or something else if you want to go in that direction. But it doesn't look good, and it is not a good thing on this carburetor. So I've got to get that cleaned out now. I'll just do that off camera with some cleaners. The one thing I will say is that we have a set of 85 jets in this, and I don't remember speccing something that thick out to John Einert at Pony Carburetors when we did this carb back in the day. I'm going to try to see if we can get some jets from Allstate, and I'm going to go down in stages from an 80 to a 70. I think I'm going to go probably 80, 75, and 70 to see what we can do about getting this thing to lean out just a little bit, because it's incredibly rich right now, especially at idle, and that's a lot of jet, especially in an engine like this that's not running. It's running too rich, so we need to back it off just a little bit. I'm going to take this thing, get the gasoline out of it somewhere other than in here. We have a bucket that Cam used when we clean out the tank. I'm going to pour this off, all of this off into there, and then I'll grab some carburetor choke cleaner. I'll show you how quickly that stuff just turns to dust once you get gasoline off the top of it. First, I got to find out what he did with that can. I have my safety glasses on because I'm going to be spitting around inside this bowl here, and there's every good likelihood that something could come out after me. And I'm also going to be working back here in the bores on the primary and secondary throttle bores on this. Putting some fresh 93 in here. See, that's the stuff you just got to be careful of right there. So you got a pin here that this little plastic piece right here is captive to, and then there's a spring. Looks like they took a spring out of a big pin, which back then they may have, I don't know. I'm going to set those two aside for right now so we don't lose them while we're cleaning. This little declivity I'm down in right here, this little dent in the bottom of the case, this is for retention of junk. It's your last best hope against getting a piece of trash like we showed you just a minute ago, slapping into the front of one of those jets and causing it to not run correctly. This had some dirt down inside of here. I believe this is also part of the accelerator pump system. And then you have your main accelerator pump bore over here. Now what I'm going to do in this, pour some fuel in here. Then it's going to leak down, but you want to take your accelerator pump. If you don't have a new one, you want to take the accelerator pump and put it back down in the bore and see if it pumps. That's pumping. Two pieces inside of this that you're going to want to be mindful of when you're doing this kind of cleaning work is this small check ball right here, dead center of the carburetor. It's a steel check ball, and then you have an aluminum accelerator needle. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but basically it's a little aluminum needle that controls the amount of fuel coming into the main part of the carburetor. I'm gonna get so high doing this today, because I don't have it ventilated in any kind of way. Little junk right there, can't get it to come off. It's a little piece of trash on the throttle plate. It's not wanting to come off, and I think it's just a discoloration. It's kind of hard to tell from up here. I believe that's just discoloration. I'm gonna put a little bit of fuel down in there where I've cleaned them. The one thing I will say about ethanol gas is they can be nice cleaning products because the alcohol in there, the little bit of alcohol actually helps to cut some of the carbon that I've got in here. I did find a set of 69 jets that I'm going to attempt to install in here today off camera so that when we do the run-in here in a little bit, and I'm not going to be able to do a complete run-in and test because Cam is out sick today, so we're going to get this thing pulled back together. At the very end of the video, hopefully we're going to see this thing run from fuel inside the tank through the pump and into the carburetor. That's our goal here. The only bad thing about using acid brushes like this is you can end up with a real problem of particulate down inside the bore or down inside the bowl of the carburetor. So I want to give her a good look. I think those are just dark spots on the throttle plates. All right, you can see right there that the acid brush has kindly dropped a hair there. And there's one in the throttle bore of this front bowl, or the front bore here. There's one down at the bottom of that one. So there could be some also in the bowls here or down inside of here. I'm going to take this outside, pour off the fuel that's in here, use some more of the gas. Don't need to show you that. And then we're going to put the whole thing back together. Not going to show you that. Like I said, there's a video that we put down in the description below that shows you how to exactly rebuild one of these. I am going to use the kit from National Parts Depot to put this one back together because I'm not totally confident in our gaskets that we have on here. These gaskets may or may not be in top nick now because they've been dried. All right, before I take this thing out to pour off the fuel in here, I am going to remove my check ball and leave it on my magnet, and I'm going to try and see if I can gently pry out that accelerator pump needle. That could be a cheeky monkey and do. Put some fuel in there. Ugly, but effective. It's going to smell like gas all day long. Ain't nobody going to hang out with me. Now I'm going outside and pouring off the gas. Well, I'm about to become very committed to this idea. I'm going to put some fuel in the tank, and hopefully that gets drug all the way up to the pump. I'm putting premium unleaded ethanol gas in here. Do I want to do this? Not really. I would rather be able to find 91, but since I got no 91, we're doing this. 93 is going to run a little bit better than any of the other gases that I could put in here. I can't put a non-ethanol 87 in here without causing myself problems. Potentially. This is about 4 gallons of premium. I didn't think to check for leaks initially. Seems to be fine. A little bit left in the bottom of the can just in case I need to add. We're kind of in an away we go situation. Away we go. Good horsey. All right, we're going to find out now whether the rubber will meet the road. Car is in neutral. Key is in the ignition. Fuel in the bowl. 1, 2 squirts. What the heck is that all about? Battery may have been a little bit dead. Love the way this thing sounds. It's a little rough right now. That can be from it being cold too. I want to put the air cleaner on it. It's not as rich smelling, that's good. We're going to see if it still does the rough thing on startup. Could have been that it was just having a problem because the timing is a little advanced. That's kind of what that sounded like. Battery may be a little weak. It's been sitting up for a few days. Ready, willing, and able. It would need a couple of minutes to warm up. I'm going to let it run. Oh my gosh, this hair. My wife loves the longer hair on top with a little wave. It makes her giggle. And I'm going to do things that are going to make that woman giggle. I'm sorry, that's just how the world works. I'm going to start this thing. I've had it running a little off camera because I am one of those guys that when I start working on something, I can't stop myself. But I'm going to go ahead and start up and let you hear how a car sounds whenever there's too much timing. Okay? Hopefully it'll even start. It may not. All right, so I'm going to pull it over. That little bit of labor that you heard there, that's what happens when a car, the timing is set a little too high on it. Off camera, I got it where it's idling pretty nice. With that big cam in there, it's going to be really hard to get this thing to roll over like I want it to. It's still a little shaky, but it's got a big cam in it, and when you look at the vacuum gauge, you'll see what I'm talking about. Kind of fun seeing the nemesis for this car back behind me here. All right, what I'm going to show you now, if I can get this where the camera can see it, is our vacuum gauge is sitting right at 15 inches of vacuum. Well, it's actually between 13 and 14 inches of vacuum. There is a pulse there. There's two things that can be. You could have a valve that's not opening correctly, or you can have a really big cam. We know we have a very big cam in here, so I'm not as completely worried about that. I am a little worried about the idle changes, but I'm pretty sure that's in that carburetor. You can see where it picks up and planes out to about 15 inches of vacuum, and that needle is just steady rolling the way it does. That is not good on a normal engine. Not a big problem on one of these. So what I'm going to probably do is go in and take a little timing out of it. I can hear something up front. I think it might be the alternator charging, but I hear some kind of belt noise. Oh, and also, on top of all that, hang on, let me get out of here and I'll talk about that after we're done. I think that's the alternator I'm hearing. It's also leaving a heck of a puddle, but I'll tell you about that in just a second. You'll notice the vacuum dropped off when I brought the timing down. And it gets even lower the lower I go. I can only go to a certain point in here before I start running into the AC compressor. And that's kind of a happy medium between the two. Not happy maybe, but it's a medium. The little shaking and stuff that's doing, I'm not crazy about that either, where it's changing, the RPM keeps going up and down, or the vacuum keeps going up and down. For now, I'm going to shut it down and talk to you about the problem it has. Okay. So there we go. We did manage to get it to run, so that's a good thing. I think we've got an issue going on somewhere in there. We may need to put that new set of plug wires that we got in from National Parts Depot a couple of weeks ago. We may have a plug wire that's not actually playing nicely with other. Cam wanted to put the plug wires in. I vetoed that to see how it runs on the plug wires that were already in it. Because they're numbered plug wires, and I know that's stupid, but I just like those plug wires. And apparently we may have a problem with the plug wires. We could have a deeper issue, but we have an even bigger issue than that. What I'm showing you right now is a little drippy puddle underneath the Mustang from the heater case, the AC heater case. Those things are such a bugbear to get out of these cars, it's not even funny. And we're going to have to do it. Now, if you guys want to see that, we may not do that in a regular episode. I may put that into a sidebar, and I may not show it at all because I tend to cuss when I'm working on those heater cases because of how much of a bear they are to get out of there. And then the clipping part is easy. Taking the clips off, putting the new heater core in there, that's the easy part. Getting it out of this chassis is a bit of a nightmare because you pretty much have to remove everything to get it out of there. You almost have to take the complete dash panel out of it in order to get it to remove. No, I'm not kidding. Well, folks, I guess that's our show for this week. I wish Cam was here, but like I said, he is not feeling well. He's under the weather today. He's hurt his neck somehow, and so he's not able to be here, which is kind of a bummer, and a bummer for him that he's not feeling well because he's a very grumpy man when he doesn't feel well. Do me a favor, folks. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Autorestomod. It runs. It runs. Something else broke. If there has ever been the nature of automobiles in the classic market, that problem right there is one of them. I mean, you do something and something else busts. Just the way it goes. Coolant leak? Why not? At least it's not the radiator. But we don't even know if the radiator is any good at this point. We were going to do tests and all that, and that is coming up, but not right now. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you can come back and watch more videos from us and learn more stuff about how to work on classic cars, and hopefully not how to become a cussing maniacal maniac. Because that's kind of what I feel like right now. I'm like, really? The one more thing is going to get us today? I'm not unhappy. It's running, and I could probably go for a drive trailing coolant all the way down the road, but I'm not gonna. I don't think.